What is up, fight fans? We got Glove Talk, episode 23. Here with my boy Jose.
What up, what up?
We're here to go over UFC Fight Night, Corey Sandhagen versus Rob Font, replacement for Umar. Then we're going to go over this Saturday, I think is, what is this Saturday? This is,
Luque and Ponzinibbio.
Vincente Luque, I thought it was Rafael Dos Anjos.
Oh, Dos Anjos, my fault. Dos Anjos and
Yeah, this
Luque.
thing switched like 7 times.
Dos Anjos and Luque, yeah.
Yeah, this fight card, this changes a couple times, so we'll go over that. So.
Yeah, this card looks very dry, by the way. Very dry.
Starting with last week's fights, going in the prelims, we can start with the first fight. We got Odi Osborne getting submitted by Asu Almabayev. How you say his last name?
Almabayev.
Almabayev. Guy, he looked like he was, dominating the ground and pounding. Looked like he was out here looking like the flyweight Khabib. Not as good, but you know what I'm saying? He was, dominating on the ground. Odi Osborne's a guy who was known for striking, but recently he's starting to do a little bit more wrestling, but Asu came in there and showed him that there's levels to this, and you never unfollow the Glove Talk podcast because there's consequences to that shit.
Man, Odi Osborne, he's like, I was watching with a bunch of friends this weekend, and they're trying to get their interest in MMA, and one of their things was like, oh, this guy's like big, like Odi is big for his weight class, but he does nothing with it. In the striking, Almabayev was doing a really good job with the leg kicks, neutralizing him, getting his strikes off first. And then I know Odi's been working on his wrestling, but Almabayev took him to school, man. He wrestled him the whole fight, took him down, dominated, ground and pound, got the submission. The only moment Odi has when he cut Almabayev with the elbow on the ground from the bottom. That's it, though. Again, Odi, listen, man. I would say it's not personal, but it is. You followed us and you unfollowed us, man. We're not going to forget that. And also, you've just been bad lately, bro. I'm going to be honest. I'm not even trying to diss you. You've just been really bad lately, man. Like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe you need to go up a weight class. The cut's too much for you, but come on, brother. But yeah, Almabayev looks really good. I think, like you said, kind of like a little mini Khabib in a way. Hopefully. It kind of looked like that fight. I think at flyweight, a guy like him and reminds you a lot of Muhammad Makayev in a lot of ways, So I'm interested to see what Almabayev could do, man. These flyweights that can wrestle, that's an interesting proposition for sure.
Yeah, and then we go into featherweight for the next fight. We got John Woodson getting the decision win over Dennis Bazooka. A fight where, his striking looked like he won this fight with his striking, Whenever he was at distance and it was boxing and kickboxing range, he was winning. But I will say that when Dennis did blitz and it was more closing strike, like in the box striking range, John Woodson does seem a little uncomfortable there. But he does dominate on the outside, which I'll give him props to. And maybe throw more attacks that make him respect you a little more, a little less point fighting. Try to hurt the guy, try to get him out of there. But, Sean Woodson, the guy, he just looks weird. It looks like his body's not supposed to be that shape. But, he's a good striker. He's putting it together, and he looked a little better this fight. The last couple fights were a little bit more mid, but this one seemed a little better. So
yeah, Sean Woodson with one of the worst tattoos on his stomach I've ever seen in mixed martial arts. He definitely looks like he was made in a lab and not in the good way. But yeah, Dennis Bazooka took this fight on super short notice. He's a teammate of Merab and Aljo. And I don't know, man. I think, listen, Sean Woodson, he looked good on the ground. He dominated him on the ground. He did a good job in the striking. But I think if Dennis Bazooka would have had a full camp, he could have won that fight. Because when he was landing in the pocket, he was hitting the harder shots, right? And I think for Sean Woodson, like, he played it right. He fought on the outside. He kept him at distance. He used his range. And there was moments where he could have finished the fight. And I think for Sean Woodson, it is a step up because one knock on Sean Woodson I've had in his career is that I feel like for how long he is, he doesn't exert his dominance in the striking realm. But he did this fight. He really did. Deserved to win. But I think for Dennis Bazooka, man, listen, it's not the end of the world. He took the fight short notice. He's still young. You can tell he's talented. And it's tough fighting a guy that's that much bigger than you when you don't have a full camp, But for Sean Woodson, it's a good win. He's an interesting guy at featherweight, just for how big he is and his style. There's a lot of good stylistic matchups you can make for him. And he put on a show. I'm not gonna lie, he really did put on a show. They both did, and yeah, good win for him.
Yeah, in the next fight we had Cody Durden surprising me getting the win here over Jake Hadley. I think a lot of us, we are fans of Jake Hadley. We think he's a scary guy, but Cody Durden is able to go out there. The first round he got 3 takedowns. He was able to outstrike him too, I think, too as well. So a great fight. But this was a brawl, bloody fight. There was blood at the end of the fight. So just a fight that UFC fans like to see. But Cody Durden, man. So, I mean, I liked him, but coming out here getting a win against a guy like Jake Hadley says a lot about him.
Yeah, this fight right here, um, it's either my fight of the night or my second pick for fight of the night because this fight was so good. Jake Hadley actually almost died making weight for this fight. He revealed after the fight that he had a really bad weight cut. But both these guys, man, Cody almost getting him with the Darce choke, Jake almost getting him with the armbar. Like there was a lot of good moments in this fight. Cody Durden trains at American Top Team Atlanta, Diego Lima gym. He's a training partner of Alexander Pantoja, the current flyweight champion, and you can see that. You can see the pedigree in Cody Durden. Obviously, he's had 2 submission losses. One of them, most notably, was to Makayev. But since Makayev, now he snapped off 4 wins in a row now. Pretty dominant unanimous decision wins. Like Jake Hadley had his moments, but he cut up and beat up Jake Hadley. And these guys left it all on the line. They were gassed by the end of the fight. But I appreciate it. Listening for Jake Hadley. He's young. We're a fan of him. Definitely not the end of the world. Like he still put on a really good show considering all the circumstances that he had going on. And for Cody Durden, it's a good win as he keeps moving up the rankings at flyweight. I loved it. This was a really good fight. I'm telling you, these flyweight fights, man, people sleep on them when they look at the cards, but the technique, you had submissions, you had wrestling, you had kicking, you had punching, you had everything, right, that you could ask for in an MMA fight to the highest level. Like, these guys had no stop. And Cody Durden, after the fight, flipping them off, doing the DX chop and all that. Like, it was a great fight, man. I wish this fight would have been higher up on the card because it was kind of like a high point of the card. But yeah, very good fight. Very good win for Cody Durden, man. I think he's starting to finally put it together. I'm really interested to see what he can do at flyweight.
Yeah, and speaking of good fights, we got another good fight after
Yeah.
this. We had Billy Q versus Damon Jackson. Billy Q able to get the win here in a hard fought fight. Him winning, I think winning this fight basically on the feet. Damon Jackson better grappling, was better on the ground. I think Damon Jackson, I'll give him maybe round 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the rest of the fight, people were saying round two, but I don't know. I think Billy Q did enough,
He was
striking
gassed
to
round 2.
nullify the takedown.
He
Yeah.
was so tired round 2.
And when you get them takedowns when you're gassed and you look tired, those don't look as good as getting them takedowns when you're fresh, when
Yeah.
you're ground and pounding and stuff like that. So
Yeah, Damon Jackson owns and coaches one of the Fortis MMA gyms down in Texas. And he has good technique, but dude, his gas tank was shot after the first round. Like you could tell, one telltale sign for people getting into MMA, you can really tell when a guy's tired. Yeah, the mouth breathing, but that's kind of become more normalized as guys have deviated septums, they breathe their mouth. But the hands, if a guy can only keep his hands up for a couple of seconds before he has to drop them or whatever, he's tired because it takes so much energy and lactic acid buildup, right, to keep your hands up, to keep your shoulders and your arms, in a good position. And Billy Q capitalized on that, man. He put on a striking, wizardry that fight. I thought he could have finished the fight a couple times. And, Billy Q, for, all the things you could say about him, his ups and downs in his career, he's always game for a fight. He's always game to put on a show. And as fans, that's what we ask for, right? Is for fighters to go out there and put on a show for us, right, at the highest level. So yeah, Billy Q, man, good win for him. I always love a Billy Q fight, right? You're always gonna see something exciting. And Damon Jackson, I have to ask the question. I know he's not here to answer. What is that tattoo? That double line tattoo down his spine, dude. That thing is horrible. Nothing else is connected to
yeah,
it. Just 2 lines down his spine, bro. Like,
we might have to do a segment sometime where we just rate the worst tattoos in UFC because in the NBA, I don't really. When I watch like basketball and other sports, I don't really see tattoos that just stick out like, oh, that's
right,
terrible.
right.
But you're gonna see all the time, every other fight. But hey, it is what it is.
Hey,
Going into the next fight,
Gavin Tucker, when he comes up, that's a guy who questionable tattoos, bro. Gavin Tucker's got moon, stars, wolves, pentagrams. I don't even know, bro. Like, yes. And then the Diego Lopez, later we get in the card. The achieve, believe, whatever tattoo on the chest, man. But that's why I love MMA. It's a lot of guys with brain damage who decide to get stuff inked on their body permanently. I'm not complaining. You know, it gives us content.
Uh,
The
and then we
CTE
got
does
the next
wonders,
fight.
bro. The CTE does wonders.
The next fight we got performance of the night going to Carlson Harris, the Guyanian, which he got performance of the night because this is not a fight he should have won. It's
Yep.
a comeback fight. Being able to get the submission in round 3 in a fight he was losing to Jeremiah Wells of all people, who's he's not like a super scrub. I wouldn't say he's like William Knight level scrub, but he's just he might be like Jaquan Buckley level scrub. He might be that kind of level
Oh,
scrub.
stop, man.
Oh, you like Jeremiah Wells?
Jeremiah Wells is a Daniel Gracie guy. I got a soft spot for him. And the thing is, Jeremiah Wells, the only thing that pissed me off was his striking. Throwing hooks, you're not Justin Gaethje, bro. You can't start throwing hooks from 2 feet away and hope for them to land. But the wrestling was great. The jiu-jitsu was great. The only reason he lost is because Carlson Harris pulled off the most impossible anaconda choke I've ever seen in my life, where he was able to wrap it around from the takedown, roll him, and then with almost no leverage, put him to sleep. He had no leverage on that until Jeremiah Wells started feeling the pressure. Then his shoulder sank, boom, put him to sleep. But we're being honest, Carlson Harris did not deserve to win this fight. He was getting destroyed the whole entire fight. I think for Jeremiah Wells, man, that's my knock that I've seen on him, and I like the guy. But he's so athletic, he's so good, but he's missing his striking, and he's missing just moments like that where, okay, if you feel a guy trying to sink something in, right, you gotta disengage, right? You gotta disengage. You gotta know better, because no matter how strong you are, Uh, the way Carlson Harris hit that anaconda choke, nobody was getting out of that. Right? It was so impossible. The position he hit it in. And for Carlson Harris, listen, he's done this before. That's his go-to choke: anacondas and darces, right? And we saw a lot of that in this card. A lot of people are using anaconda and darces because when you're in a position of a front face lock, or someone's taking you down, all it takes is you either grabbing the back of the head or wrapping your arm underneath the armpit, hooking the bicep, and just rolling and pulling, right? What people don't realize is with chokes, right? And we're getting a little BJJ seminar here on the Glove Talk podcast. But those chokes, anaconda, darces, the triangles, right? It is not you cutting air off, it's you cutting off blood flow. When you do an anaconda choke, you're pushing the shoulder blade into the artery right here, and it stops the blood flow going into the brain, and it just builds pressure, right? So it takes about 6 seconds of that fully locked in to put him to sleep, as people saw. So it's in a position where it's easy to lock in if you know what you're doing. It doesn't take much pressure. It takes more leverage than anything. And you saw a guy like Jeremiah Wells who was winning the fight. Dude, when he went to sleep, I didn't even believe it. I thought he was fine. And then the ref, you see his legs start shaking and all that stuff. That's MMA, man. Again, I'm not happy with the result. I think Carlson Harris, no disrespect to the man, he's not good at all. But hey, it is what it is. That's MMA for you, man. Fights can switch just like that on the smallest of techniques. But yeah, Jeremiah Wells, man, I wouldn't call him a scrub. I get what you're saying. I understand. I get the Joaquin Buckley references. I just think at 36 years old, his ceiling is limited. We'll call it that. It's limited.
So I'm saying Jaquan Buckley's his ceiling is limited. You know what I'm saying?
No, man, he's
But
29 and a TikTok star and training at Extreme Couture, and guess what? He still can't win a fight. Um, Yeah, we don't like Joaquin Buckley on the show if you haven't noticed. I don't like him. He's corny. Anyway, he's corny, bro. He's corny.
and then
He's so corny. He
getting
had
into
one
the back.
lucky spinning kick knockout. Cool, bro. You can hang that up with next to Matt Serra's lucky knockout of GSP for the welterweight title. Congratulations. You made it, Joaquin. Go do OnlyFans with those abs or something, bro. Jesus. Anyway.
In the next fight, we got a fight that this is probably the most questionable decision here, but
I agree.
I agree with the decision maybe, but I could also see it going the other way because you got Kyle Phillips getting the win over Barcelos. Barcelos is a guy who has scary grappling. I think what is he, like a 7th degree?
He's up there. Yeah, he's up there.
He's like a 7th degree, so a guy you don't want to go to the ground with. But in this fight, it seemed like he was forcing a lot of his takedowns, like how we talk about. And he wasn't able to be as successful as he usually is against Kyler Phillips. And then Kyler Phillips, he's better on the feet, of course. But Barcelos, he is scary to fight because he does have a scary blitz style with his striking, where he could catch you and knock you out, and then he's wild, and then you get into these grappling and these clinch positions, and then he has good ass submissions. So that's a good style. That's like the Charles Oliveira style. Just fight wild and forward, and get yourself into them positions where where you can get a submission, or you can get their back, or you can get into a scramble position. Even if you're on the bottom, you just want to get into the grappling situation. So
Yeah, he kind of he gave me a little bit of Justin Gaethje vibes at some point in the fight. Like, he just kept going forward and forward. And Kyler Phillips, he looks like he's AI generated. He looks like a creative fighter on UFC, bro. like, like we're being honest.
oh yeah,
He looks AI generated, bro. He does not look real. And I don't know. I don't like the way Kyler Phillips fights. I don't. I think it's point fighting, if I'm being honest, right? And for Raoni Barcelos, like, he did what he had to do, especially at the end of the fight. He was getting very aggressive, getting the timing down of Kyler Phillips, right? I'm not gonna disagree with the decision, but that 30-27 they gave to Kyler Phillips is absolutely wild. I did not agree with that at all. But hey, it is what it is. Kyler Phillips gets another win. Does it impress me? No. Especially at bantamweight, you need to show me something at bantamweight, right? One of the most loaded division in the UFC today. To be able to say, okay, this guy might be something. I know, Kyler Phillips' fight style, when Bruce Buffer announced it, it was like no gi di don do something kung fu or whatever. And I'm like, what? So then I realized, like, oh, this guy just plays touch fight at the park. That's it. That's all Kyler Phillips does. Play touch fight at the park. He does spinning kicks on monkey bars, bro. Like, cool. Like, I don't know. I'm not big on Kyler Phillips. I'm not big on this win. I'm not big on this fight. Kyler Phillips did not impress me this fight, if I'm being honest. But hey, it was on the card. We have to talk about it. Let's move on, please, because it sucked. It sucked. And Kyler Phillips is just continuing to be mid over and over and over again. So we're not shocked.
I don't even want to talk about this next fight, but we got Ignacio Bahamondes, our guy,
Mm-hmm. La Jaula.
taking his L against Lodovich Klein, a guy who you shouldn't be sad about him taking the L against, because Klein is cold.
Yeah.
Klein is like that. But I think Ignacio Bahamondes got comfortable. He knew that he was beating people just based off of his skill set and just being skillful. But when you run into another guy who's just as skillful and has experience, you gotta brawl. You gotta fight. The point fighting against a guy who has more experience with you, point fighting, who has just as good as techniques as you, who might even have better technique, because in close, Klein was catching him. And he caught him more times than Ignacio caught him. So I don't know, man. I don't feel like he did anything crazy wrong. Just probably less point fighting.
Yep.
Um, and I don't know, get guys to respect you a little bit more. I know you have knockout power, but respect you with your hands as well, not just your kicks.
Yep. Yeah, and Ignacio Bahamondes, La Jaula, our guy, he was a good sport about this after the fight, and I agreed. Like, it was a game. It was a great fight. If we're being honest, it was a great fight to watch. Both guys are game. Ludovic Klein, man, his hands are nasty. The leg kicks were nasty. The ground and pound, the way he controlled him on the ground, the wrestling, it was nasty. Like, Ludovic Klein looks like the real deal, bro, if I'm being honest, right? And Bahamondes, like, it wasn't that he necessarily did anything wrong. Like, he did, but there's things you can fix, right? I think it's more of just you need losses like this on your record as a learning experience. I think it's just a learning experience for Bahamondes, like, less point fighting, right? Less point fighting, being more aggressive, to kind of counteract, because it was Ludovic Klein getting to the punch faster every time, right? Because you're fighting a guy that's a boxer, right? That was a national champion boxer. And so you can't box a boxer, right? You have to use your kicks to build distance at that point. And the wrestling, dude, Ludovic Klein was ragdolling him at some points in that fight, right? And it sucked that Bahamondes, like we haven't really seen much of his grappling. We know he trains with Bilal in Chicago. Um, and again, I'm not knocking Bahamondes. I love the guy. We do. He fights. It's a great style of fighting. It's just, dude, Ludovic Klein's one of those guys where that was a step up in competition we were calling for Bahamondes. Okay, he didn't get destroyed, right? He didn't get knocked out, but he lost. It's a learning experience, and Klein gets another win on his record, you know. But for the fans, I mean, it was a great fight for us. Ludovic Klein, man, I think he's going to make a lot of noise at lightweight. I think he reminds you a lot of like Mateusz Gamrot in some ways, a guy that can strike and wrestle so aggressively. We'll see, man. I'm excited to see more Ludovic Klein. And again, for Bahamondes, man, he's gonna go back to the drawing board. He's gonna get better. He's gotten better every single fight. There were some things in this fight I thought were better than his last fight too. Um, and again, he didn't get knocked out. I think that's the biggest win when you can put up a fight, when you can still keep fighting and fighting and fighting, and not get knocked out and not get finished. That's always a win in some way, right? It's a little moral victory. So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, and then the next fight we have a light heavyweight Tanner Boser fighting. I think he's a UFC newcomer, Leska Kamur, a guy who trains. I think he trains with Stipe.
Yeah, he changed his Stipe.
So this fight was just Tanner Boser just testing his chin the whole fight. We just got to see how good this guy's chin was. Really, got
Yeah.
to see that Stipe has some training partners that have hell of a chins.
Yeah, man.
So,
Both those guys had shins because Camera was catching Bozer with some stuff too.
but like
But
the stuff that Boser caught him with, and Boser's like a heavyweight, coming down, like he's catching with all his stuff that he usually catches guys with, and he
yeah,
just
and
was
I think
putting him
what
off.
won Bozer the fight too was the fact that he was better in the clinch situations. Right, he
And
was
his
able to
pace too. His pace. He was setting the
pace.
pace.
Like he was able to get off those 6, 7 strike combos we saw in the second and third round, and then he was able to slow it down, clinch him up against the cage, get a little rest, disengage, go back to work. You know, jab, straight jab. Like it. It was not. It was a great fight from Tanner Bozer. I like him down at light heavyweight. I think he looks big for the weight class. He looks very big for the weight class, and that pace, man, dude. If you can keep that pace at any weight class, right, you're gonna win fights because that's the biggest thing, the hardest thing to keep in mixed martial arts is your cardio, is the pace, right? And for Alexa Kammer, man, his hands look good. It just didn't move his chin, and I don't think he has really a kicking game or a grappling game, you know? So it's kind of limited. Like, yeah, he could probably knock guys out, but you gotta have somewhat of the full package, in MMA to be able to move up, and keep going forward. But hey, it was a good fight. I've loved it. There was no sloppy big boy fights this card, right? We're gonna call it that. Light heavyweight and heavyweight fights that has fill-ins on the fight nights. We didn't have any of that. This was a very good technical fight. And I'm happy. Thank you guys for not laying on each other for 15 minutes, right? This was fun to watch. The crowd loved it. There was blood everywhere. It's a good fight.
Yeah. Next fight we got. I'm gonna call it right now. Diego Lopez. You got two new fans.
You
You
right,
were I was
bro.
betting you after your short notice, but this really made me like cementify that I'm definitely a ride or die Diego Lopez fan. I think he fights out of the same camp as Alexa Grasso. I
Yep.
think.
Yep.
So, and then to get the submission win over a guy like Gavin Tucker too, the Canadian Gavin Tucker. Gavin Tucker is not a bum. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's like the best guy out there, but he's not a bum.
Right.
Um, and this guy, I think the first fight, his short notice fight, he showed how good he was striking and on the ground. In this fight, he shows that he can go to the ground as well and dominate people. So
Yeah.
I don't even remember what submission he got, bro. It
It
was
was
Saturday. I forgot.
it was the triangle choke that no, it was an armbar triangle. It was kind of like
No,
a
didn't he have like a hybrid? He got like an armbar
yeah, he had a
triangle hybrid.
hybrid, and then when it flipped over, when Tucker flipped over, he got on top and Tucker tapped, right? But it was basically a triangle armbar hybrid, and he just kept twisting it. He broke Gavin Tucker's arm, actually. Gavin Tucker had to be taken in the ambulance to the hospital with a broken arm. Diego Lopez, man, listen, the tattoo sucks. The hair is questionable, but the talent is not. Oh my gosh, Diego
How come he
Lopez.
looks like he looks Hispanic and like I don't know? He looks like an Aaron and I don't even know Diego at the same
He's a
time.
great mix, man. He is Brazilian training in Mexico, has a tattoo in English, and has a mullet as well with like a comb over. It's great. And the jiu-jitsu, like, listen, he looked great on the feet as well, but the jiu-jitsu's on another level. He's Alexa Grasso's main jiu-jitsu training partner. You can see why. This guy, dude, like we saw in the Evloev fight. If you would have, I'm saying this now, if you would have had a full camp for the Evloev fight, you probably would have won that fight. You know,
He should have
because
won the fight anyway.
I listen, man, the ground skills this guy has to be able to get that submission, to hold it, to break the guy's arm. The fans love him, right? He survived the nut shot in the beginning of the fight too, which was clean. That thing was right on the cup.
Oh yeah, that
Um,
shit looked like it was intentional.
yeah. And Gavin Tucker, man, basically the featherweight Cody Garbrandt at this point. I'm saying that just because the tats. The tats are terrible, dude. They are horrible. But no, Diego Lopez, man, bro, Dana White called it. He called it for this fight. I think Diego Lopez, it may seem early. Give him a ranked fight. What do you got to lose? That's a guy that wants one. That's a guy that's shown every time he fights, he wants to put on a show. I wouldn't mind giving him a ranked fight. Like, let's see what he's got, bro. He's
Well,
young.
it's featherweight. There's plenty of people to fight that aren't ranked. That would be big fights. It's featherweight, so.
Yeah, but okay, let's say Dan Ige at featherweight, or Alex Caceres, right? Alex
Yeah,
Caceres.
Alex Caceres would be a good fight. But I
Alex
think Alex Caceres got booked to fight Giga.
Yeah. Well, okay. Edson Barbosa not booked, but everybody wants to fight Edson now because he's on his way out. Bryce Mitchell, Sadiq Yusuf is one. Dan Ige is one.
All Sadiq Yusuf does is make Twitter videos, bro. He don't fight.
I love that. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you're right. There are fights of unranked fighters at featherweight you can make for Diego Lopez. But I think give Diego Lopez 1 to 2 years, and bro, he's gonna be up there fighting top 10, top 5 at featherweight.
He's like Charles Oliveira, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I love it.
And
The
then
next fight,
the next fight,
I want your take on, because some people are calling it an early stoppage. I want your take on this.
the next fight, we had Dustin Jacoby, getting the TKO over Kennedy Nzechukwu. Surprising fight, when the fight first starts, you're looking like, are these guys even in the same weight class? And then, Kennedy getting too comfortable coming in, and Dustin catches him while he's coming in. Dustin, a world-class kickboxer. Well, they say he's a world-class kickboxer, but I don't know. Last couple of fights, his kickboxing looking a little iffy. But
No,
this
but
fight,
when he was a kickboxer, he was when he was a kickboxer.
Yeah, I know he was, but I'm saying like the last couple of fights was a little sketchy. But
yeah,
this fight, he brings it back, and to knock out a guy like Kennedy, who's on a win streak, who's been scaring people. I didn't think it was an early stoppage at all.
okay.
I mean, he might have still been there. I don't know if he got fully knocked out, but he was going to get more strikes in the head. I mean,
yeah.
From what I remember, at least, this shit was Saturday. I'm trying so hard to remember. I don't. I don't remember having the feeling that it was an early stoppage, but I remember. I remember when he got knocked out. I didn't feel like it was an early stoppage.
Right.
So
I didn't either. And the friends I was with, some of them called it an early stoppage. They're like, "Oh, he was covering himself." I'm like, that doesn't matter. His feet were doing nothing to get a better position.
That's your instinct to do, even if you're halfway. Right. If you're half knocked out, you're still doing this.
Right. And his feet weren't doing anything to try to regain guard or anything. He was just laying there, right? And he got mad at the ref afterwards, but I agree with the ref. That was a good stoppage. Jacoby was going to win that fight regardless, because the position he put him in, right? And like you said, Kennedy got way too comfortable coming in. Jacoby caught him with that little check hook, the left check hook, and it shocked me. I like Kennedy a lot. He's looked very good at, his last fight.
If you know his story about his mom and stuff too.
Yeah.
It sucks to see him lose about his mom. He pays for his mom medical bills.
Yeah.
To keep her alive. So.
And listen, like, he's looked good. He beat Carlos Ulberg, who's a big name at light heavyweight. He choked out Devin Clark. I like Kennedy, and it's not the end of the world for Kennedy, right? It's just moments like that. You can't get in the pocket with your hands down, even against a guy you're so much bigger than, because, dude, it takes one shot. That's MMA, man. Dustin Jacoby has power in his hands, right? It just takes one shot. So, one thing I will say about Dustin Jacoby, man, he looks a little small for light heavyweight. I know Kennedy's a big light heavyweight, but Dustin looks a little small at light heavyweight, and I think that's been his issue with his kickboxing, right? Just how small he is, right? How he's not able to create space, and so. But it's a good win for him. And then, like, listen, a knockout's a knockout. We didn't get many of them on this card, so I'll take it. The crowd loved it, but it sucks for Kenny and Njeku. I think he'll be back. You know, we like Kennedy a lot on the show, but yeah, I don't think it was an early stoppage. I think it was good. And
It sucks for Kennedy because every time he almost gets into the top 15, he loses.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Dustin Jacoby's not no joke. He's a guy that said that if Alex Pereira didn't fight ranked guy right away, that he, I think Dustin's ranked 15. So
Yeah,
I
15.
said Alex Pereira, if he had to fight somebody that's not top 5 right away, to fight somebody like Dustin Jacoby would have been a good fight. But they went with Jan Blachowicz, which ended up working out. So
Yeah, and I will say it's better than the next fight on the card. So much better than the next fight on the card.
yeah, the next fight we have cringe. I don't know who's the queen of cringe, Juliana Pena or Tatiana Suarez. I don't know, but Tatiana Suarez taking a page out of Aaron Blanchfield's book. I feel like here with her approach towards Jessica Andrade, you know, and able to get the submission here. Making a grappling fight. Even she was shooting for takedowns where she was just going for the ankle, and just dropping down all the way, lowering her level all the way to the ground, just to end up getting in those positions with Andrade. Which Andrade needs to start recognizing that these are all these girls are beating her by is grappling. The only people that really beat her standing up are Shevchenko. And I think Shevchenko even took her to the ground actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Andrade, she's in the heavyweight division, but I think it might starting to be towards the time where she might want to start ringing it up. She's losing contention for title fights, and it might be time to be done for her. And for Tatiana Suarez, I don't know. Her grappling is top tier. Like she has really good grappling, but her striking is terrible. It's like she's all kicks, and none of her kicks are really. They're just point kicks. They're not really any damaging.
Right. No
They're not
power
really
behind it.
anything. No power. She's just playing and running around until she gets the chance to grab you, which is it works, and until you get to the highest levels, and you got girls like Amanda Nunes retiring, so you got these new girl fighters who might actually start winning, by doing stuff like that, But we'll see.
Yeah. Hold on. I need to look up see Rose. Okay, so Rose Namajunas did get booked against Fiorot.
Yeah, she's fighting.
Fiorot.
Perot. Yeah.
Yeah. If not, I would not have minded that. Seeing Rose versus Tatiana.
Did you watch the Rose Ariel interview?
No.
She was thinking about quitting fighting because of her faith. She didn't really believe it was like she didn't really like promoting violence and stuff. But I don't know. She talks about her faith, but then her husband is Pat Barry, so. Anyways.
For those that don't get the joke, no, never mind. I don't want to get us sued. Anyway.
They get the joke. Everybody gets the joke. It's like if I make fun of Brendan Schaub, everybody knows why we make fun of Brendan Schaub.
Listen, man, Pat Barry's a map. He's a map. Anyway, no, I said Tatiana. I think Tatiana moving up a weight class would be better for her. I don't know, man. Like, you just got the biggest win of your career, right? You just choked out Jessica Andrade, a former champion. The crowd's going crazy. They do the interview, and she has the worst voice I have ever heard on a UFC microphone in my life. And I've been watching this sport since around 2009, right? Oh my gosh. She comes out, yeah, it was good. I'd like to thank my coaches. But you have the co-main event spot. You have the mic on you, and that's your call out? Is that? Oh, Nashville, thank you. You guys are awesome. Oh, I'd like to wish happy birthday to my cousins. Bro, we don't care. Call someone out. You haven't fought for like 2 years. You're back. Cool. Do
I don't even
something.
like the call out. The call out to Wags is be genuine with your. She just seems so cringe.
No, she does. She does. I agree. And oh my gosh, bro.
I don't know. I think it's. I just hate when I see females try to be masculine and stuff. Like it's just cringe too. Like when she wins and she's like, "I'm not fucking best," and she's storming around. I was like, that's kind of cringe, bro.
Yeah, listen, man. Tatiana Suarez, like, that's another thing with her call outs. It would have been perfect for her to call out. Like, she beat Jessica Andrade, who is number 5 at strawweight, right? Boom. After that, you get to make a call out of Jean, who beat Andrade, right? You can call out John. You can call out Carla Esparza when she comes back from having her kid. You can call out Zhang Wei Li or Li Mosh after they have their fight, right? And she gave the worst post-fight interview ever. And I will say one thing about her fight. Now we'll go back talking about the fight. Dude, the point kicking. Like, she's so big for that weight class, and she throws nothing behind her strikes. It was poor in that aspect. I mean, the wrestling's great. We know she's an accomplished grappler, but she could have finished that fight a lot sooner, right? It was obvious. It's a win. Tatiana Suarez is back. She's still undefeated, but can we be honest? Who has she faced? I know she's had injuries. I know she's had all that, but
I
I
just
don't
want to see her
know.
fight Juliana. I just want her and Juliana to fight, bro. I just want the Queen of Cringe fight.
Like, okay, listen. She beat Alexa Grasso. She beat Carla Esparza, right? This was now, 5 years ago. Last change in 5 years. 5 years. I don't know. I think she ruined her opportunity to make it her moment, right? But hey, it's on her record. We'll see what they do with Tatiana Suarez.
I
That's
mean,
gonna
she's
be
in the women's division. She'll get a title fight soon anyway. There's not that much action, so.
all I know is
Then we go to the main event.
if she
Main
faces
event, we
Jake,
got Corey Sandhagen versus Rob Font. Corey Sandhagen, known as a striker, but he was able to use his wrestling in this fight, which people were hating on him. But if you see the video of
he
his
tore he
elbow
tore his
afterwards and
tricep.
stuff like
He tore
that,
his
like
tricep round one.
his whole arm was broken. So you know, in stuff
Yep.
like situations like that, you have to switch up your game plan to get the win. Especially you're fighting a guy Rob Font. He's ranked number 7. If you lose, you go from being the guy who probably fights in the next title fight to a guy who's ranked number 7. Then you got like Marab. They're trying to throw Umar up there in the top 5, fast as hell. You got all these
Cejudo
other
and
guys.
Cheeto.
You got Henry Cejudo. You got all these other guys that get step in front of you. So this is his chance to secure the win and be the next guy. But question for you, Jose: do you think this win was so bad, so bad? If you take everything in a full spectrum about his arm and everything, it's not really that bad of a win. But so bad that he's behind now, like a Marab, or he's behind another Cejudo.
Dude, can I be honest? Even before I found out about the tricep today, I think this is one of, if not the best one in Corey Sandhagen's career. And I'll tell you why. Because Corey Sandhagen is known as a striker, right? But the knock on him has always been his grappling. And bro, he just dominated him on the ground. Dominate 20 minutes of control time almost, right? Rob Font was doing that stupid butterfly guard stuff trying to sweep him, and Corey was smart enough to not get swept, right? And maintain the control. I think, listen, if a guy does a whole career doing that, I get pissed. Like, oh, you're just laying on people. But Corey Sandhagen has shown he's a world class striker, if not one of the best strikers in the UFC. And now he's showing you, like, hey, I can also grapple, which is big at bantamweight because you got Marab, Cejudo, Aljo, 3 amazing wrestlers and jiu-jitsu practitioners up there in top 3 basically at bantamweight. For Corey Sandhagen, this is a statement win. And yeah, the national crowd was booing, bro. Cool, boo all you want, bro. You have to appreciate the chess match, right? These guys were throwing Darce chokes. These guys were throwing sweeps. These guys, and the way Corey Sandhagen did his takedowns, he didn't struggle for them. He went in there. He made it look so simple, Devon, that I wish more guys that practice MMA watched what he did. Grab the leg, I mean, clasp your hands and pull. Just pull down, bro. And it works. It works every time. Like, you going forward, just pull down. And Corey Sandhagen, great win for him. I think for Rob Font, it kind of showed what I know was short notice, but Rob Font, the knock on him, man, he can't grapple. He can't. The butterfly guard stuff was not working, and he kept doing it all 5 rounds. I think for Corey Sandhagen, this is not a bad win, like people may have seen. This is not a bad fight. This is dominance. This is a statement. And Bantamweight's a division where he's probably second in line for a title shot after Sean O'Malley, right? Because you got Marab and Corey, because Aljo, Aljo's going up to featherweight after this fight. So yeah, it's
I think
probably,
Corey's. I think Corey's third.
Well, when Aljo goes up, right? Let's say Sean
Well, if they
loses,
make those Cejudo, they're having the Sean O'Malley versus Aljo fight. If they make that Cejudo versus Murad fight soon,
then Corey's
if
after.
Cejudo, whoever wins that fight gets it automatically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's say Aljo beats Sean. Sean then fights Corey. The winner of that beats the winner of Cejudo Morale for the interim belt, right? That's still a great fight for in Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen. And Corey's making a statement like, "Hey, I belong up here contending for a title," right? And we've seen it. The Piotr Jan fight, he put on a good fight, even though he lost. Um, Listen, man, Corey Sandhagen. I'm worried though. He's going to be out for a bit. He's getting surgery on his tricep soon. But it was a good fight, and I think you have to be an MMA fanatic, right? You have to be
I
able.
mean, Murad puts the same performance against Peter Young, and people say it's one of the best performances they've ever seen. Corey Sandhagen does it, and people say it's terrible. So
Yeah,
he just did the same thing that Shevchenko did against Andrade. He was like, everybody thinks I'm better because I'm striking. No, I'm better just because I'm better all around.
right, right. No, I agree. Yeah, no,
And he was injured, so.
yeah, he was injured since round one. And he still put up almost 20 minutes of control time. Like,
And let's not act like he just stood up for 5 rounds against Cheeto Vera, who fucked up Rob Font in a main event fight.
yeah,
So let's not act like Corey is scared to fight this guy. Corey easily beat Cheeto. Cheeto destroyed Rob Font. So
and
I
Corey
mean
was winning
MMA
on the
match.
feet. Corey was winning on the feet when they were fighting on the feet. Like Rob couldn't do anything this fight, you know. So I mean, let's not play ourselves. Even when Rob was getting sweeps, Corey was just spinning out of it and getting back on top. Like we're seeing the evolution of a guy who, is one of those. He reminds me of Yuri, those Bushido guys that love martial arts and want to live the martial art life. It's scary seeing Corey Sandhagen put it all together, bro. Let's say if you fight that rematch against Aljo, right? If that ever happens, he got choked out by Aljo in the last fight, and it was because of the lack of grappling. That would be a very different fight now, based on what I saw on Saturday, And I love that. That's what you want to see. Guys coming up, guys evolving in their game. So good win for Corey Sandhagen, man. I think he has, he potential future champion at 135. You never know with the way that weight class is going. Yeah.
Yeah,
What would you rank the card?
this card was like a 5.
Mid.
5 for mid. Just because
Mid.
there's a lot of decisions, a lot of decisions.
Yeah.
But great, some good technical fights. But those are really nothing that. For me, what rates cars really high is if stuff that gets divisions moving. This doesn't really get the divisions moving. Really, it only really gets bantamweight, but it doesn't even get bantamweight moving because it just what we already knew. Corey Sandhagen is next.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on who wins between Sean O'Malley and Aljo. So, going on the one more fight we have to talk about for that night. We have to talk about Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul. Did you watch the fight? I thought people like in terms of boxing, those rounds are a lot closer than people think. In terms of boxing scoring,
Mm-hmm.
it's not MMA scoring where it's damage; it's boxing scoring.
Yeah.
So because you see a punch land and it hits his glove, it's not the same. That's not a score. So
Originally,
Nate Diaz has a lot of tricks.
I fell asleep in the sixth round, and I rewatched it in the morning. So I watched the full fight, and I will tell you one thing: if Jake Paul ever fights a legitimate boxer, right? Nothing against Nate, but like a legitimate pro boxer, Jake gets destroyed. And I'm gonna tell you why.
He
Because
did. He did. He lost to Tommy Fury.
yeah, there you go, right? Which nobody brought that up going into this fight. Everybody's trying to sweep that under the rug like that didn't happen. And here's the thing with Nate. Listen, Nate Diaz put on a Nate Diaz performance, right? Even the knockdown that Jake had on him, that was more momentum than power. If you watch the replay, and then when he almost fell through the ropes, that was just him slipping on his gloves as he was trying to get back up. But Nate did what Nate does, bro. Pinpoint fighting, and then near the end of the fight, as everybody's getting gassed, the guy that does triathlons, and Nate Diaz just like puts up the pace and keeps going and going, right? And boxing is point fighting. If we're being honest, it's point fighting. It's a lot closer than people think. It's just Jake exaggerates the power a lot more, right? And that's what almost lost him the fight at the end because Jake he was getting tired, bro. He's putting his guard down. He's just always trying to put power into his shots. I think MMA is a sport where it's a lot more damage based, like you said, less point fighting. But boxing, man, you got to be able to mix in both. Look at Terrence Crawford against Errol Spence. Terrence Crawford point fought amazingly and also beat the living crap out of Errol Spence, right? You got to know how to mix both. I think Jake Paul only has one speed, and that's trying to knock a guy's head off, right? And for Nate Diaz, man, listen, he gave us a show. He was toying around with him. He was trolling him.
It was fun to watch.
It was fun to watch. Dude, Jake Paul. People need to stop hyping that train up, man. You know.
Well, I don't care about people hyping him up because he has boxing skills. Obviously, if he's beating Nate Diaz and Anderson Silva, but I hate how the commentary just sucks his dick the whole fight, and they were trashing Nate Diaz like, "Oh, I hear he has great cardio, but not for boxing." I'm like, "What? You think boxing cardio is harder than MMA cardio? Are you dumb?"
Bro, Dan Hardy, former UFC welterweight, was on the commentary team trashing Nate Diaz the whole fight. Brother, you are a disgrace to the MMA community doing that, bro. And I used to love Dan. I really did. I used to love Dan and Dan's takes, bro. But ever since he got fired from the UFC, he's had to chase that bag, right? And, bro, that was bad. You got to back the boy up, bro. Like, Nate's representing the community. I'm not saying trash Jake, but be honest. Nate Diaz trained with Andre Ward and was Andre Ward's sparring partner for a while. And Andre Ward, undefeated, light heavyweight champion, Olympic gold medalist for the USA in boxing, right? Has vouched for Nate Diaz's boxing. Nate Diaz in MMA had cardio for days, had a good boxing style, right? Even in MMA. You got to back him up, bro. I'm not saying, kiss his ass on the commentary team, but like Dan Hardy's just trashing him the whole fight. And then you got Sean Porter, who I don't even know why they had Sean Porter on the commentary team, right? The guy that got, his ass kicked by Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Sitting there talking about, oh, Jake's looking good. Jake's got that competitor in him, man. Jake wants to go out there and just win. Shut up. Let me watch the fight, bro. Let me watch the fight. Like that's one thing I'll say. DAZN, as we're talking about all this, we'll go to DAZN for a second. You look at HBO boxing back in the day, Showtime boxing today, right? Even the ESPN top rank commentary teams, right? They let you watch the fights, and it's guys that know what they're talking about. DAZN has not given me that ever since they started promoting boxing. It's been terrible.
Ever since I started doing that YouTube shit, they've been bringing in these random ass YouTube commentators. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
It's almost as bad as Triller, if we're being honest. It's almost as bad as watching the Tyson and the Roy Jones Jr. fight. But another thing from the Jake Paul Nate Diaz fight, Ngannou came on the broadcast talking about having Mike Tyson in his camp as he's getting ready for the Tyson Fury fight. That's not too far away. That's only a couple months away now, man. I think Mike Tyson in Ngannou's camp. I'm excited. I'm excited for that fight. They're looking at about
Hypes up the fight more. That's all it does.
yeah, they're looking at about 30 mil each. Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence numbers came out, made about 30 million minimum each in pay-per-views. Boxing pay-per-view numbers are coming back, bro. If we're being honest.
Well, for the big fights, but if you
The big
get
fights.
the median, if you do the average out, it's still not.
That's because you still got idiots like Bob Arum running Top Rank and all that. But I know
only like 10 boxers that can sell a fight.
that is true. Canelo.
That's why they're bringing in MMA guys to sell a fight.
Yeah, Canelo fight's coming up. I'm not really looking forward to watching that. But yeah, no, in terms of this fight, listen, Jake Paul, Nate Diaz, Nate put on a show. Nate said he was injured coming into the fight as well, which I can believe the way he fought. But I mean, it didn't do much. It was good to watch. They both were. Oh, we got to talk about that. Lil Durk coming out for the walkout. The mic wasn't working. He said one thing and he just walked around. The song kept playing. I don't know if you saw that.
I mean, Connor called Jake Paul a wigger. I'm using YouTube a wigger on Twitter, and everybody's outraged. But I'm like, hey, I mean, he brought out Lil Durk. Is that not the definition of a wigger?
Bro, Lil Durk came out with the bandages and the promotional thing for his deluxe album.
He's like, bro, I'll walk out with you if you let me promote my album, bro.
And then the mic didn't work. So they're just sitting there all awkward. Lil Durk's just sitting there. All you see is just like his eyes or whatever. Lil Durk's just like.
You see that meme on Twitter? It's like Jake Paul when he was on Disney. He's like riding his scooter, and it's like, all my life they tried to hold me down. He swear that song relate to him, bro. He's like, if I didn't have boxing, I'd be dead or in jail, bro, right now.
Bro, like, you live in Puerto Rico to evade taxes, right? You live in a gated community, and you grew up in another gated community in Ohio, being on Disney Channel, bro. Yeah, he made out the trenches, man. That's my inspiration, you know. But yeah, let's be done with this. It is what it is.
Uh,
Jake Paul's gonna be around for a while.
so for next week's fight card, the only really fights that really interest me a lot are the Polyana Vienna versus the Isman Lucindo.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big girls fight
It is.
because those are two up and comers. You know, Lucindo's a girl who aggressive. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we got Jamie Pickett, and Josh Frem. You know, guys trying to come back from. I think they both are coming off losses. Jamie Pickett's coming off that loss to Bo Nickel.
Yeah, we know who's gonna lose this fight.
What the heck? They got AJ Dobson versus Typhoon Nikui.
Yeah,
These motherfuckers look like they straight out of Madagascar.
I'm looking at that
And then you
Marcus.
got you got Marcus McGee, Sean O'Malley's training partner,
Yeah,
the guy who with the Kodak striking.
so good, man. So good. He actually posted something of him and Sean in the gym today. I can't wait for that fight. Listen, JP Bays. I know you went through a divorce and stuff, but you're probably gonna get your walking papers after this fight, bro. I think it's time. Lando Venata, Mike Breeden is kind of underrated in my opinion. Like they're not both good in any way, but Lando fights like a crazy man. Martin Budai versus Josh Parisian is interesting because Budai is a more technical one. Parisian always down to fight and put on a show. Khalil Roundtree versus Chris Dawkins. Khalil Roundtree, ever since he learned how to do Muay Thai, been a different fighter entirely. Uh, I don't know why Cub Swanson's co-main with Hakeem Dawodu, bro. They're just asking for him to get
He's
knocked
not
out.
co-main.
Yeah, it's
I'm here. I'm on the UFC website. They have him in the prelims
no,
as
really.
the second fight on the prelims.
What you guys the co-main on yours?
Co-main is a Roundtree and Dawkins.
Ugh. Okay.
And main event is Luque Dos Anjos, which I hope, we love Vicente Luque, but, he's been losing. He's been on a losing streak. So hopefully he can turn it around and get some wins.
Yeah. RDA
He's
is.
the guy, when Usman was champ, we was talking about him fighting Usman maybe after, when Usman was supposed to fight Gilbert
Yeah.
Burns, we were like, okay, after he fights Gilbert Burns, he's probably going to fight a guy like Vicente Luque. And Vicente Luque's been losing, so.
Yeah. No. And RDA is 38 years old now. I like RDA though. I love RDA a lot. I think it's gonna be a good fight. I think it's gonna end in a knockout. I think one of these guys is gonna knock each other out. Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting card next week. Oh my gosh. So 2 hours ago, MMA Junkie posted, Devon, that TJ Dillashaw doesn't want to retire and would return if his shoulder heals.
Obviously, he did the Conor McGregor to, pop steroids to get his shoulder to heal.
Oh my gosh.
Which, that makes bantamweight so much more interesting, though. Because if you look at him versus Aljo or him versus Corey Sandhagen, which we thought he lost that fight, but, he's not out of it. He's not a scrub. He's still, one of the top guys when he is fighting, so.
Yeah. Other news on MMA, Demetrius Johnson said that if he ever fought Pantoja, it would be a very tough fight for him. I would love to see that fight, but we know we're probably never going to
Pantoja
get
is
it.
just so hard because the grappling, bro. It's just,
Yeah.
he's like Charles Oliveira, bro. Like, you
Yeah.
hurt him on the feet, the grappling's there. Like,
Yeah. Sean Strickland has gotten his visa to get ready for the Israel Adesanya fight. So that fight is basically all
they
but
announced
done.
it already. They already announced it. It's just not signed.
Yeah, it's not signed. Strickland still got to get the visa, but that is a thing. That's gonna be an interesting fight to watch. Yeah, Jake Hadley saying he saw God for a second during the weight cut for this weekend, man. That's tough.
Oh, God, when he got hit with the right hook.
Yeah. Aljamain Sterling was in the crowd at the fight night this weekend and said that he wasn't impressed with Corey Sandhagen's performance. And then Aljo got booed when they put him on the big screen, which was hilarious because...
That's why I love the MMA fans, bro. Y'all so based, bro. The right people get booed. The right people get cheered. They showed Donald Trump.
Bro, somebody made an article. They're
showed
like... Oh, no, it was MMA On Point. They made a video. They're like, does everybody want to see Aljamain Sterling lose? Yes. Yes, we do. He should never been the champion in the first place, if we're being honest. Right?
He's got 3 gifted wins.
Bro, he faced TJ Dillashaw with one shoulder, right? He got gifted a decision over Piotr Jan when he did nothing, right? And he got gifted a decision against Henry Cejudo, if we're being honest. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I think it's time. I think Sean O'Malley, like, obviously we got 2 weeks till that fight, right? But Sean O'Malley, bro, I think that might be it for Aljo. You know, but
I hope.
I hope so too.
Well, that's gonna do it for episode 23 of the Glove Talk podcast. Follow us on IG at the Glove Talk podcast, and we'll see you guys next episode after the Vicente Luque Dos Anjos card, and then I think next week we'll cover we'll go over the start of the Sean O'Malley card. Yeah, so not this next week, but the following week after that should be some banger fights. So we'll get into that. Like, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.
UFC 292. Yeah. UFC 292. I don't even know if I got anything funny to say, guys, other than listen, if you get hit in the head for a living, consult your loved ones and family before getting a tattoo. Please. For your own good.